Good morning, everybody. Jared with Day Traders FX here. Nice to see you all. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. Lots to talk about today. I wanted to make sure that I had some time to organize my thoughts and make sure everything was um, the most coherent here because we have a lot of things happening. Number one, we saw a bit of news, and the euro is going crazy for a couple of reasons. Number one, is everybody can see the markets are just hot everywhere. Things have the sentiment has kind of changed from dovish central banks and careful policy and stimulus to everything is hot, right? The markets are just all moving and going crazy. The Eurozone did not raise interest rates, but what Draghi talked about a bit today was the fact that there's uncertainty, but in a good way. Usually there's uncertainty in a bad way, like are things going to fall apart? And right now there's uncertainty in the way of the Eurozone has this stimulus that they are in the middle of, and there's uncertainty as to where inflation's going to go. Basically, traders are across the globe are expecting that all of this hot economical movement that we're seeing right now is going to lead to inflation in the Eurozone, as opposed to stagnant, no growth type of stuff. So all that inflation expectation has kind of got the euro going. Draghi talked a little bit about that. Rates stay the same, but they're in the middle of a stimulus, and everything is just strong. It's strong, strong, strong. And so it's really turned out to be kind of an interesting situation. We're seeing a lot of strong trends. The US dollar is getting killed. The euro's going strong. The pound's going strong. The Aussie had some strong moves. It slowed down a little bit. New Zealand gave us a little bit of a pullback yesterday. We'll look at all of those. This is kind of the seasonality. I was talking about this in the chat a little bit this morning. This is the seasonality of the trades, which is oftentimes we can see things happen at the start of the year that go for the first kind of quarter, 3 to 4 months, and then that reverses and we go into the pre-summer movement, which is March, April area, and that takes us through the first part of summer into summer, and then from there we get a bit of a reversal, and so we could see some of that happening. Likewise, big economic conferences like Davos and Jackson Hole and so on can be very active in the markets as well, and right now we see some Davos gatherings happening. So anyway, so much to talk about. Let's just kind of review what these charts are doing and telling us and so on. Number one, Aussie pairs have been on the move a little bit. We're not paying too much attention to Aussie CAD at the moment. Aussie Swiss has made a good movement. That hasn't really been on my list, so I haven't taken advantage of any of that movement. Yen pairs are still kind of all over the place. This was a trade that we had from about 2 days ago. Ran up to this 88.40 and hit and came back down. Initial target 87.92, but overall we're looking for that pivot cluster around 8800. Excuse me, 8700. So there were some nice pips to be had there if you got into that high area that we talked about and kind of held on to this. Even now, you're still sitting in some good pips, but we want to look for a break of this low. So that is one thing to keep an eye on, a break of that low and an opportunity to trade down towards that cluster through that area. So keep an eye on the Aussie Yen for that. So we'll be watching that. Basically, what I want to look at here, just a little level on the Aussie New Zealand. I haven't been trading this thing at all, but this is a very, very solid level, 10900. We're sitting at 109, just about 80, so 10900 is going to be something to watch. We'll discuss that more as there becomes an opportunity there, but what I want to basically look at, I don't know if I see an immediate trading opportunity on too many pairs, but I do see some very big stuff setting up, so let's talk about what those are and be able to mark these on our charts. So Aussie New Zealand, keep an eye on 190. If it dips down to it very soon, it could be a buying opportunity. If it pushes through this high, it becomes a target and something we can trade down to. So that's something worth watching. Aussie dollar has, more lower targets than I can really even hardly list and fit into the chart. So we have all these levels. Aussie dollar is just going crazy. Look at this channel right here. You can see how well it's tested up here and up here. It just goes on and on and on. This is something worth watching. Now, again, we're not, we're definitely not looking for too much um, dollar strength at this moment, but we could start to see a little bit of correction beginning to happen. So Aussie dollar's got some good levels. 80.30 is one. We've got a whole slew of pivots. 7,900, 8,000 of course will be a level. 7,900 will be one, and then it just kind of goes to 70. 78 and change, and then we've just got all these levels. I've tried to kind of highlight them and mark them. Short term, there could be a little bit of a pullback there and a little push into this 80.30. Now, you could try to do some scalping. You could try to do a little bit of activity below here. I'd be really cautious because the dollar is so weak. We're going to look at that dollar chart in just a moment, but it is so weak right now that I'd be super cautious. But there could be 30, 40 pips right there to kind of work with. So, just watch that. But not a lot of dollar push to kind of back up that kind of movement. So keep that in mind. Look for that type of situation. We'll see where that goes. Just a few little charts to keep an eye on. I'm not really looking at the CAD Swiss. Watch that chart. It's worth keeping an eye on. It's a short-term situation. CAD Yen, I like the CAD Yen, and this, and I actually take it back a little bit. This could be a bit of a short-term trade that we could be looking at today. So I'm kind of just watching for that kind of movement there for a target of weekly pivot, target zone 90, 90, 30. So this is worth keeping an eye on. This is definitely worth keeping an eye on. It's probably worth putting a little chart alarm at about 88.70. I'm going to call it 88.71, 72. And all I want to know right here is that it's breaking higher. So that's worth kind of watching. Got a little falling wedge. We've got a great target zone up there. We've got some missed pivots. We've got a whole bunch of things to aim for. Excuse me. And so I think that's a really good little spot to kind of watch and just see where it goes and see if we can get a little bit of a movement up into that area. So that's CAD Yen. Here's the dollar index. So we talked about the 90 level. 90 broke in half, and this thing just headed down. Now this kind of has the blow the top off kind of a feel to it. Now I mentioned earlier that at the start of the video that I think that this could be some seasonality trading, but at the same time this is getting beyond overextended. So as far as the bar count goes, it's not crazy. It's 240 bars on the hourly chart. We've definitely seen more than that. But what is getting crazy is the fact that we have so many levels up here that are imbalanced, untested. So we have all these areas here that are just, adding up and adding up and adding up. So our 90 level is out of the way. That little consolidation, yes, goodbye, that's gone. But at the same time, we're leaving quite a number of missed targets that need to get rebalanced to at least some degree. 89.60, 89.80, 9,100, 9,000 of course will be, a retest of that will of course be, some psychological level stuff. So that's going to be worth watching. So it's just crazy how extended this thing's getting. So anyways, we're going to be looking at that. We don't want to trade against the against the movement too much here, but we're going to definitely be watching that, seeing where it goes. Remember this level. I marked this level because I thought it was really interesting. We have some highs here that have definitely had a big reaction. Triple top, big push down on dollar index, a lot of consolidation here. And now we're back to retesting those levels. So dollar is just broken apart, but it's right back to those levels, which is right at that 88.50-ish zone. So again, it takes us back into this area all the way back here in 2008, 9, 10, 11, right through that area, and now we're just right back to that level. This is a good area for a bit of a bounce on the dollar index, and it is bouncing a little bit, and to at least maybe give us a little bit of end of week reversal here. Not even reversal, slight correction. Get us back up into this 89.50 to 9,000 level right there. So keep an eye on that. That could be a very interesting level for the dollar index. Another thing that I'm interested in, so again, we saw that Draghi spoke and the euro pairs reacted. So we have Euro Aussie, which has made its big move from the Euro news, but failed right at that monthly pivot. So we had a monthly pivot here, failed. Now remember, we had this head and shoulders pattern on this kind of short-term chart here with a targeted move at 52.40. It went down to 51.50, so that played out nicely. And so now what we have here, and we've hit all these targets right here. Now what we're looking at is that we're getting a little bit of a pullback, and it almost looks like we have a head and shoulders pattern in the other direction, right? So now we've got this little area here, and again, it's short term, but it is a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern there. So we're going to see how this plays out. Again, this is all only on a 1-hour chart, so let's just kind of see what moves and what runs here. We could see some of that. We could see 155.50 again, which would just take us back into these highs on this Euro Aussie. Now, what I want to see though is I want to see levels like these get at least paid attention to, right? So I want to see that 153.80, have some sort of reaction, whether it's a pullback and a buy from there, or just a full-on reversal and it just comes back there. So we're going to see how that plays out on Euro Aussie. Euro pairs have gone pretty nuts. Euro CAD's made a bit of a move. I'm not really watching Euro CAD for the moment. Euro Swiss is just a lot of chop still. Euro Pound has made a couple of nice moves. Euro Yen, a lot of chop. Euro New Zealand is getting pretty interesting. Early stages of pretty interesting, I would say. We've got kind of these types of spikes where we leave these levels here, right? We've got that level. We've got, this kind of thing happening here. Not a lot in the way of missed pivots. Besides that monthly right there. But everything else has pretty much been hit, but it's kind of leaving these areas here, and it's been pretty good at kind of coming back and hitting those. So we've at least got 2 of them. So Euro pairs on some are looking like there's some pullback to be had. So Euro New Zealand, watching that. But let's get down to Euro Dollar. This one right here is looking pretty interesting. The Euro Dollar has quite a few levels that need to be watched. This one's getting really, really overextended. So all the highlighted areas are levels that need to be revisited. 124.30, getting down here, 123.70, 122.70, and then just all of these guys down here. There's just a bunch of them. They're everywhere. They're all over the place, and there they are. So that's kind of what we're looking for. That's kind of how we're gonna, see what can be played out here. But there's some stuff going on. There's definitely some stuff going on here on Euro pairs, and I think that we can take advantage of some of that movement when we start to see a little bit of a slowdown. So Euro Dollar has just kind of, it's made this run. It's pushed through this level like crazy, and now we could be headed, we could very likely be headed into this zone up here, which is around 12700 and even 12750. So we could be headed into that. This was a pretty strong move. We made it through the 200 EMA, pulled back, retested, and everything's kind of starting this new trend now. So we had all this bottoming out here, and it's been running up. Now, a trend's not going to just go forever, so there's going to be some opportunities for corrections and pullbacks and so on. And that's where I think we're going to have some decent short-term opportunities to trade back to these guys, get this back down into the low 120s, 121, 122, 120 even. But for the moment, there's definitely nothing I want to buy yet, and I don't know if it's ready to sell. So we're kind of watching this thing, but we're just keeping an eye on these levels. If we get a pullback into this zone right here, it could be some early stage buying that we could be doing. But keep in mind the dollar index is at a literally a 10-year support, and that's a big deal. So that could be a turning point. to some degree for this euro dollar, and we know we've got plenty of lower targets to aim for. So I'm going to keep you guys updated throughout the day and kind of let you know what we can get into and trade and so on. But for the moment, it's quite a situation we have going on here. So let's just keep in mind that these markets are getting the trends are strong and they're getting pretty overextended. Pound pairs are doing a very similar thing. They're getting very overextended as well. I've marked important levels and targets that need to get hit on the way down here, and that is right here. So pound Aussie's got some good targets down here. Pound CAD has got some good targets down here. Some of these have multiple missed weekly pivots. Most of the pound pairs have at least 2 consecutive weekly pivots. We've got some good targets down there. Pound Swiss has got a few, not really looking at that one too much. Pound Yen, lots of lower targets. Nice trend, nice pattern, lots of low targets there. Pound New Zealand, some really good lower targets. At least 2 consecutive weekly pivots as well. Some daily pivots, some other nice levels. So we're just, we're keeping in mind that these currencies are getting fairly overextended and overbought. Pound dollar, same kind of thing here. Many lower targets, big ones right here. So we're just kind of looking to see if this pound dollar is going to, take a breath, give us a little bit of a pullback. You can see that this channel, this short-term channel here, looks like it's probably got some pretty good possibilities for some continuation. But we might be kind of at the medium-term high of the zone here before it starts to pull back just a little bit, but lots of lower targets. So, again, this is a bit of commentary on some of these pairs. Like I said, there's a few little short-term things that I think could be interesting to trade, but for the most part, we're just looking at so many of these big movements. Now, remember, we found that the New Zealand pairs were getting overextended, and what happened? New Zealand pairs had a lot of targets, a lot of missed lower levels, and what happened? We got some news to kind of help things along. We had the CPI, New Zealand CPI news yesterday, and it really helped things kind of crank and get back lower. So New Zealand pairs made a big dip lower. New Zealand yen, one that we've been talking about. New Zealand dollar specifically, one we've been talking about. Now, New Zealand dollar still has not hit the 200 EMA on the hourly chart, which puts us at 576 bars. That's a lot. So, watch for this little movement. 200 EMA sitting down here at 73.11. We're at 73.50 right now. So there's still pips to be had there. Still very much pips to be had. So that's kind of something to keep an eye on and see how that plays out. Again, I don't really want to trade against the U.S. dollar that much right now, but it's going to be something to just watch and see how the movement goes and see if we can get the rest of that push down towards that 200 EMA. So lower targets galore, or targets in the direction of dollar recovery are really happening. So we're going to keep an eye on that type of stuff. Norwegian krone here. This one has gotten to some pretty crazy levels. That's 600 bars on the hourly chart. So, excuse me, that's not 600 bars. I'm on the wrong chart here. We're at about 500 bars. Now, New Zealand dollar and dollar krone have these crazy high bar counts, over 500. And that is something that tells us that we're, at this ridiculously overextended area. So, again, I'm not ready to trade against the trend yet, but there's definitely something getting our attention here. Now, we don't really have any super significant levels on this dollar krone. We have this previous low right here, which is right about that 7.706 area, and we're a little bit, 7.7. So just right about 7.7 there. And we've got, another couple of thousand pips, which, again, in dollar krone terminology, that's a couple hundred pips. to go before we get into major support down here. But these are areas we're watching. Big strong movements. Look at that. That's weekly candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive weekly candles. How many do we see of those consecutive bullish or bearish candles? 6, 7 on the weekly charts, kind of about the tops. So we see back over here 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a big. It looks like that at bearish close. So 4, and then we go back here a little bit. And we get a couple again. We're at 6 big strong candles to the downside on the weekly chart. So daily chart, pretty aggressive as well, but we do have a couple of little recovery candles in there. So anyways, these are things that we're watching to kind of notify us of some pullback, of some areas that that we need to keep an eye on. So that's what I want to just kind of keep us abreast of here at the moment. Oil's making this move, and there's going to be some CAD trades there. There's just a lot going on that is telling us that these markets are getting quite overextended. So we're going to watch that. Cryptocurrencies haven't moved much. They're kind of staying in their little space for the moment. So I'll keep you guys notified on what I'm watching, what I'm doing there. I haven't changed my positions. I'm still holding my current cryptos and planning on watching for some bigger dips here. But hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that helps out and gives us a little bit of perspective of what's happening in this crazy market. Thanks everybody, and I'll keep you guys all up to date with everything that we're looking at. Like I said, not as many short-term trades as I want to take right now. Looking at New Zealand dollar, looking at some of these Aussie pairs, Aussie yen for a break of the low, and some of that. But and remember, I think we talked about the CAD yen as well, possibly making a breakout to that upside. Little chart alarm set there. So I'm going to watch Aussie yen, CAD yen, New Zealand dollar, and then just see how the rest of these guys play out. Right now, it's watching and waiting, and this is really kind of more of a market overview than our typical morning trade update. So that's kind of the purpose I wanted to do that. Okay, thanks everybody. Good luck, and I will send some trade alerts this morning out to members as things set up.